All right. What's up, anybody who decided to tune in and watch us today? It's actually 1 minute till 7, so I'm not going to kick anything off yet. Well, now it's 7 o'clock. So I actually have a really good friend of mine, Siobhan Tiffany Barone, joining us today. We've worked together over the past, I want to say, at least 6 years together at Equinox. I had another friend of ours. We call ourselves Tres Amigas. That was on a couple weeks ago. Tara Martinez. So directly connected, and really happy that they're both joining me on this Facebook Live. So I'm actually bringing Siobhan in right now so we can start the conversation. Today's conversation is too, and we're actually going to start by telling you how we came to choose this topic. Hi, what's up?
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
So good. It's good to see you, love.
It's good to see you
Can
too.
you hear me?
Great.
Okay, because I'm not wearing my.
Yeah, actually,
okay.
it's really good. You know, it works really well on the phone. It's just unfortunately, in order to bring more than one person into a video like this, you have to do it from your phone.
Right.
And I don't understand the developers.
There's a lot of things with this that I don't.
Like, just there's things with Facebook and Instagram that I'm just like, okay,
No.
biggest company in the world,
Biggest.
like, why?
Still the most confusing.
Why do you
all
have
the time
to do this way, and why can't you do this? Yeah, it drives me absolutely up the fucking wall.
The algorithms, I can't. I gave up a long time ago. I decided to just do whatever I want to do when I want to do it, regardless of the algorithm. So.
Well, you were lucky enough that it fucking worked for you, so I don't want to hear anything.
I know, right? Well, thanks for having. This was weird trying to figure out
something. Followers, I'm a little jealous every single day that I look at your page. I'm actually part of I want to say a website. I don't know what to call them. I saw somebody at an presentation once. His name was Brock Johnson, and he's like the Instagram superstar. Yeah. So I joined. Do you know who I'm talking about? Yeah.
So you started following him and what he does? Or?
Well, not only that, I'm part of the Instagram Club Hub. Ooh. So, you know, it's all these lessons on the algorithm and what they learn every week. And it's actually super useful. I've learned a lot.
Has it helped? Have you noticed it improve anything for you personally in your business?
The jury's out on that, because I do boosts for a lot of my posts so that they get out to the people that I want. And I have a specific, genre that I boost to, so I boost to men that are in the major cities that like shit like Will and Grace and Madonna. You know, I'm trying to boost to gay people, but you can't actually say that. Right. Because those are the people that we serve in my company. It's helped because it's given me a better idea to just kind of understand how to structure posts. But he, and he makes his point often, it takes a long time for the algorithm to pick up on what you're doing when you're making all these changes. It doesn't just happen overnight. No. But they also change the algorithm overnight.
The algorithm every fucking night.
Right.
It
drives me crazy.
So they finally get one down, and then you wake up and it's a whole new situation.
I've had some pretty good posts that have gotten a lot of attention, but I've also, I'm not paying for likes for anybody that doesn't understand this. It's like paying for an advertisement. It pushes it, instead of the algorithm pushing it, you're pushing it with $100. Because money fucking talks.
Money talks and bullshit walks. Right? And here we So money will pretty much buy anything.
It's funny because I want to tell everybody, first of all, how we came up with today's topic, because I had asked Siobhan to come join me on the Facebook Live because I will be honest, we only just started this a couple weeks ago. I'm eventually going to turn it into a podcast, but I really want to have guests that I'm comfortable with first, who I already know that I have a good rapport with, and then we can just kind of sit and bullshit. And, you, Tara, I'm going to bring on Tiff again in a couple weeks because we had done one of these before. But I had asked Siobhan, I'm like, what do you want to talk about? And of course, the first thing that came out of her mouth was sex. And it was a joke, right?
As a joke, but also
me, I took it, I was like, we want to make these fun, right? Because I really feel like in the past few weeks, and don't get me wrong, when Tara was on, it was fun. But when my sister and I are here, we're just, really just talking about important things that have to do with fitness and anxiety and nutrition, right? And it's good. And her and I have a great time together. But I thought this would be a really fun topic. So, immediately I was like, okay, what can we fucking do with this? So, I came up with, us talking about how sex is really good for a physical activity and also for your mental health, right? And then Siobhan messaged me today and she's like, your post, I'm not a psychologist.
I am not a sex therapist, let it be known.
Sex therapist.
I am sexually experienced, but do not clinically
I think the two of us are probably some of the most sexually experienced people on the planet. So I think that makes us experts.
I feel like we're more expert
in its
than
own
even the experts.
respect.
Yeah.
Experience, right?
Experience,
and actually,
yeah.
You know what? So let's take a step back because I love how we got to this point that we're talking about sex, and I want to talk about. I even brought in some science, by the way.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about a little bit of science, even though we're not scientists. But it's a very simple scientific fact that about something that sex does for you. But before we get there, tell people just a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind, because we'd love to learn who Siobhan is and why you're here.
Besides just enjoying sex.
Besides the fact that we're both nymphomaniacs.
No, we love sex. Besides that, so we'll start there. Well, my God, you and I met it's been so many years now. We've been friends and colleagues.
6 or 7,
something like that.
Before we were both managers.
Before we were managers, we were friends, non-sexual friends. Let's put that out there as well.
The parts don't fit.
We're in different sexual, different sexual attractions.
It's like trying to put the triangle into the square when you were a kid.
Like into the hole, into the circle, something. I don't know. But I do. But then again, I am like a gay man trapped in a woman's straight body.
Correct. Which is why we get along.
That's why we're great friends.
Tres amigas.
A little bit Tres amigas. We just need Tara. Now we have to do a podcast with the three of us.
The three of us would be great.
We will. That's our.
Maybe that'll be my first.
That'll be your first New York podcast. We will launch Tres amigas.
That's done.
From Miami to New York. From Miami to New York. Here we are.
That's what we're going to call it too. Awesome.
Write that down. Write that shit down. So other than being a sex nymph and loving, what we enjoy out of sex, I've been in the fitness industry for quite a long time now. I don't even know if I should put this out there, but I'm 40 now, and I got into this business of fitness and nutrition and health and exercise when I was around 20. So a good 20 years now, and I've done absolutely everything you can do in a gym. I've been every manager. I've been every form of a fitness professional, sometimes not so professional, sometimes.
That's the fun part, though, about working.
That's the fun part about what we do. You know, group fitness is you still have to know shit, and you still have to be educated and intelligent, but you can have so much fun and not so serious.
Well, part of it is being the party. Right?
Nobody you have to be the party.
No, you're not going to a book club.
No, and if I wanted to go to a book club, I would have joined the library's book club. But no, I'm at the gym and I want to have a good time and I want to work out and I want to sweat and I want to feel good and I want to get all the results and benefits of that. So we keep things fun, professional and unprofessionally. So I've been in this business for a good 20 years and I've dabbled with a little bit of crazy fitness and strict and restrictions and diet and deprivation. And then I've been on the other side of like, eat it all, drink it all, do it all, live it up. And I think there's a really happy balance of the two. And so I've enjoyed over the years just guinea pigging with myself what works, what doesn't work. When am I the most happiest? Am I the most happiest when I'm not having sex, not enjoying food, not having anything fun to go out and do? Like, no, not necessarily. But I also am really happy when I'm fulfilling my physical needs, my nutritional needs, my sexual needs. And I think that there's a really sweet balance that can be found. And I've really enjoyed kind of learning that about myself over the years. So on a professional standpoint, I love teaching exercise. I love educating. I love helping people reach their personal fitness goals, their weight goals. But the big picture is, are you enjoying your life and are you living it to the fullest? And are you getting the most out of everything that you're doing in your life? And is there an area that you could enhance from nutrition, from exercise, from sex? Yeah, then let's explore those things. So that's kind of just in general. I've been doing group fitness for 16 years. I stepped down from management of fitness recently, and that was one of...
Me too.
We should also do a podcast about that.
Yeah.
So from manager to not, maybe not. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that.
Maybe
There'll be some limitations on what we talk about.
That one on the back burner because we'll have to use certain words and not all words.
Yeah.
So but making it more of a personal thing and not a business thing. I stepped down from my professional full-time fitness management position, and that's given me a lot of opportunity in these last few months to start exploring more of what I want to do personally with my own fitness, with my own platform, with reaching people, and enjoying my life in a more balanced way, which includes
Balanced.
sex
Yes.
and food and
And
wine and enjoying things.
freedom
And
with your
yes,
time, because that's something that I feel like as a manager, we were missing. But that's definitely an entire another topic. We could
that's a
talk
whole
about
nother
that. Yeah.
podcast. We're
You
coming
know,
up.
it's we're on the same page because I'm going to be 45 this year, so you're a little young and compared to me.
But we're so
And I have been in the fitness industry for, I think, 17 or 18 years now professionally. And what I've learned over the years is exactly what you just said. You know, finding balance and not living on restricted diets or restricted workout plans and cutting out everything that you love. It doesn't work, and it may work in the short term, but it never works in the long term. And this really is about being happy, right? Being happy, not just with the way you look in the mirror, but being happy with the way that you feel, being happy with the way that you sleep, being happy with the sex that you're having, right? Being
yeah,
happy with the food that you're eating.
yeah.
Because if you're eating fucking chicken and broccoli all the time, please send me a message because we have to talk. Because
Seriously,
you're on a recipe for
yeah,
failure, and that's just what it's all about. So, you know, like-minded people, that's why we get along. And that's also one of the reasons, because we're not just, you know, personally like-minded, but professionally like-minded as well. We're in the same place. And I think as fitness professionals, as we get older, we come to this place. And if you don't,
totally.
message me because we have a conversation that we have to have, right?
Yeah,
But you know, I wanted to talk about sex today because again, it goes right in line with that. It's about finding balance and doing things that are going to increase your physical and mental well-being
absolutely.
without limiting yourself. And you know, again, this conversation go in a million different directions, so we're going to keep it kind of funnel today because we really only have I've been doing just 30 minutes for these
Yeah.
podcasts, so I want to spend about 10 minutes on like the physical aspect of it, and then I want to spend you know, about 10 minutes on the emotional aspect of it. So starting out with the physical aspect of it, I think this is the more obvious one,
Right. Right.
So like,
Of course.
in your opinion, like what physical benefits do you feel like we get from having sex? And
Where's my list?
easy, where do we
So,
start?
oh my God, if I had the choice of like doing a HIIT class for 45 minutes to 60, or like a really good romp in the bed
Right.
for even 30 minutes or even 10 minutes, yeah, I'm gonna go with sex
Yeah.
more often than not. Are the benefits the same? Yes and no. And let me explain that, because you're going to burn calories in both a fitness class and sex, unless you're like, you know, just laying there not
Well,
doing anything.
missionary is
So
another
I was
story.
going to say,
Top or
well,
bottom
there's
too is riding, are you
right.
not riding? You know, like,
So
you
listen,
know,
we're not going to try to
cowboy.
explain. Yeah, like, are you a reverse cowgirl? Or are you under? Like, we're not. Like, depends on positions and length of time and
Right.
duration and stamina. So I'm not trying to say like, you know, 10 minutes of sex is going to equate the same caloric expenditure
Yeah.
that a 45-minute HIIT class is. Depends on you. Depends on your physicality. It depends on your partner. It depends on how rowdy you like to get. But I will say that, you know, based on who I am and my partner and what I enjoy, I would choose I would choose my sex life over a workout all
Yeah.
day, every day.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, we need the workouts for certain reasons, and the sex is just a benefit on physical
It's almost
levels.
like a bonus.
You know,
Yeah.
it really is. So physical benefits, you know, cardio, endurance, getting the heart rate up. It releases the
Flexibility.
flexibility,
Think about it. A lot of people get
mobility.
into and this is, I'm dead serious. I'm not just like, you know, saying jokes here. Like, a lot of people get into sexual positions that they would not normally get into that position at any other time in their lives, right?
Ever in their life.
So almost like yoga. And it's a really good comparison, because when your legs are over your head, you're in a happy baby. It's my favorite position.
Happy babies. That's, you know, I use it almost every chance I get when I cool down a class, because I like to remind people, aren't we all just big happy babies at the end of the day? Open your
With
legs,
let
in the joy, let in the light, you know, like just let it. So I love
even
that.
the straight men, if you're watching, you can let in the joy if you open your
can
legs.
absolutely. There's a lot of joy going both ways. So I think that's a beautiful point you make, Russell, because the flexibility, mobility, like opening joints in areas that are tight, you know,
seriously.
As a society, jokes aside, as a society, look at us right now. We're in a seated position. We're on
All
phones.
day I've been here.
We're on computers. We're driving. We're eating. We're like, you know, just like internally rotating and losing posture, you know, having sex and moving around and opening up the body is just going to bring space and movement and oxygen and blood flow into areas that maybe aren't getting them. So there's that physical benefit. It also does stretch you out. I noticed that when I've had really heavy lifts at the gym and my hamstrings and quads are really, really tight, it helps to have them, you know,
Yeah.
stretched and bent. And so, you know, it's almost like a personal stretching session as well. So I enjoy
You know,
that aspect.
yeah, and that was definitely. I'm very happy that we went to the place that we did, because that was kind of the point I was trying to make. Is sometimes it's not even about the cardio, right?
Right.
Like throw yourself from one wall to the other wall, sex, for it to be good for you
Doesn't have
physically. There's so
to be.
many other things that come about from having sex that are positive in either, you know, cardiovascular or recovery, right? Or, I mean, if anybody's ever ridden anybody in the room, you know, how many squats did you do today? Well, let me
Well,
see.
let me
For
think.
about 20 minutes, and my legs were on fire.
So
What
we're going to
happens
call
when
that.
you're in a group fitness class and you're doing squats and your legs are on
Yep.
fire? Like, obviously, you're causing some sort of physiological change that your body's going to have to recover from, and you're going to improve from.
Totally.
So the point here is get into Happy Baby, and then also fuck when
And
you're riding people, so
do
that you
your
get the
downward
benefits of
dogs
both.
every morning.
Yes.
Do your downward dogs. You should end every day with a happy baby and start every morning with a down dog. So there's that. And then there's also obviously the oxytocin, the happy mental. We'll get more into the mental stuff, but
Yeah,
if we're
no.
not done with, if we're not done with more of the physical, I mean,
No, let's go into it. That's actually a really good transition.
yeah, I think that it really, there's chemicals in our bodies that are released with certain pleasures and feelings and it helps stimulate us
Yeah.
mentally. It can wake us up physiologically and psychologically. And so when those serotonin, those oxytocins start to release,
Dopamine.
dopamine just starts to it's almost like, I mean, and this is not saying that I'm promoting people drinking or drugging or anything like that, but think about the different things that just naturally get you high.
Yeah.
Or just like the caffeine boost or the puff of weed or just that, oh my God, that breath of fresh air when you do a cold plunge and it's so good for your body. Those senses, those releases, those dopamines, those triggers, they help the body heal, they help the body restore, they rejuvenate, they regenerate. It's just nothing but good stuff that comes out of it. So like bottom line, just have more sex and more orgasms.
Yeah. So, you know, let's back up a minute and talk
Yeah.
about oxytocin for people that don't know what it is. All right. So oxytocin is a hormone that is released by the pituitary gland. And I made sure I did a little research on this. I'm not an expert by any means, but you know, this is pretty simple stuff to understand. So it's released by the pituitary gland. It's called the cuddle hormone because it is actually released during times of close contact with other people, or sexual intercourse, or hugging, or even just human touch, right? And what happens when oxytocin is released is it gives us those positive feelings. Like, it's one of the four, hold on, I have a couple notes written here. It's one of the four feel-good hormones. Let's get scientific for just 1 second. I said I wasn't going to bring this up, but there's something very interesting about oxytocin that I want to point out. Before we get any further into, you know, like why it's so good for you and how it can help you manage depression and stuff, it is one of the few hormones that has a positive feedback loop. So I'm not sure, and you may know what that means, but if you don't know what that means, so let's take, and I hope I'm getting this right. And if I'm getting this wrong, and anybody's watching this and they know more than me, I never put it in the comments, and
put in the
we'll
comments
afterwards and correct us, because it's totally fine. But as far as I understand, when you have a negative feedback loop from a hormone like serotonin, that means when your body sees there's too much serotonin in your system, it shuts off production. What happens when you have a positive loop from a hormone like oxytocin? It actually releases more of the oxytocin. So in actuality, the loop keeps going. And so basically, the more you fuck, the better you feel.
Like, that's your hashtag and your motto. And the more you fuck, the better you feel. Yeah.
And the great part about, you know, oxytocin is that it's been linked to symptoms of, you know, depression, right? So you can actually feel better from anxiety and depression by having a higher
100%.
oxytocin level. And, you know, again, if you're in the process of oxytocin relief, that's why sex feels so good, I think. And again, I'm just guessing here, but I mean, if you've got this positive uptake loop going on, right, and you're having sex, then you're feeling better and better and better as it goes on. And then just think about when you orgasm. There's a huge release of oxytocin at that point. It's very interesting where it comes from. It has to do with childbirth. And, you know, it's funny because why do men have nipples? It's kind of the same thing. But, you know, there's that change that happens, whatever happens in the womb, where we go different ways, but certain things stick with us. And oxytocin is one of them. But oxytocin also has, you know, to do with, you know, testosterone production, ejaculation and all of that stuff as well. But I read something that's really interesting, and another reason why you should use sex as a release for oxytocin, right? Because so far, from the studies I've been reading, and I've been reading studies on Harvard Health, and then also on the Cleveland Clinic, which are actually two really reputable places to find out information from. Don't just read shit on the internet. Look for scholarly articles.
Look for reputable scholarly stuff.
Right. So they've actually done tests to try to use oxytocin as a treatment for people who have depression and anxiety. And they've tested out, I believe, nasal sprays and pills, but nothing has really worked. The results have not been great because oxytocin, when introduced from outside of the body, doesn't penetrate the blood-brain barrier of the brain. Isn't that interesting?
Interesting.
So you need to get the oxytocin from within in order for it to affect you in a positive way and help relieve symptoms of anxiety and depression. And listen, you can get oxytocin releases from other things besides sex. Again, human touch. And very interestingly enough, in the same study I was reading on the Harvard article, they found that people got oxytocin releases because they test their saliva or something afterwards from music, from singing in groups.
This is absolutely a fact.
Because singing in groups has a connection value. Yes, and when you have the connection value, regardless of whether it's touch or another, it's amazing the way that our senses work. There's more, the connection value can come from sound as well, and from other people around you doing the same thing, making the same noises, singing the same. Music is one of the most incredible things. We should do a whole podcast on that.
By the way, we've given you a whole, I've given you 3 months content
of content for podcasts when we moved to New York.
So
I found that to be fascinating, that just singing in a group of people releases oxytocin and can relieve anxiety and depression. So, you know, the motto here is, you know, being around other people, having close contact, even just going to a group and singing. Listen, I know that we all don't have the opportunity to have sex. All right, that's how I kind of want to end this, right?
Yeah, we all don't make that point. Because it's not always
all have the opportunity to have sex. I understand that. We all don't have the opportunity to cuddle with our husbands or our boyfriends or our fiancés. And we all don't have the opportunity to even touch people sometimes. Because if you're not in a relationship with somebody, especially with the Me Too movement and all this shit, you can't just touch people. You used to be able to just touch people.
I know. I still try to just touch people, and I'm like, oh.
But the point is, you know, that last example is a good way if you don't have those other outlets to help get an oxytocin release. You can go join a choir, you can go join a singing group, you can go join anything else that has to do with music and people in groups. And if you have a connection with people in groups, then from what I've read and what I understand from the science behind it, you can get that oxytocin release, which remember, if you keep singing in this group for an hour or two, there's that positive feedback loop that you're going to keep getting in more and more of a better mood. And, you know, we go back to drug. 1 second.
I want to add to that.
Drugs, right? We've both done drugs. I have no problem admitting it.
Totally.
Ecstasy and serotonin and all that. And I know most of the good feeling I had at most of the raves that I've been to and circuit parties is not because of oxytocin, it's because of serotonin. But that is the same type of environment. Exactly. You're in a group of people. The music is the same for everybody. Everybody is moving to the same beat.
That was going to be my point, because not everybody necessarily wants to join a choir or be in a singing group. I come from a musical background and history, so I grew up with musician father and family, and I've been singing and in music my whole life. I can 1000% attest to that scientific fact and basis because I studied it all my years growing
Oh,
up.
nice.
But not everybody like us, like we're musical and we're musically
Yeah.
inclined and we love it. But not everybody's going to be like, I want to join a choir. So I was going to make the point that then you ended up making, go be in those environments and settings, like maybe somebody that needs to sit in an orchestra. If you don't want to do the rave setting or you're not trying to do drugs, go to a concert, go to something
Yeah.
where you're surrounded by instruments and music and song and people actually singing like as a group.
Or
Maybe a
people are just
theatrical,
moving
just
together.
moving.
Movement
Exactly.
together, right?
Finding festivals, man. You don't
Connecting
even
through
have to
music
be under.
is one of my favorite things ever. Actually, it's the reason I came out.
Yes.
Before we go,
Another
and this doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, but
Another
it was a good
podcast.
segue. I went to a party this weekend for winter party, excuse me.
Winter
And
party.
we didn't go to any of the main parties, but we went to the Wynwood party during the day, which is a pool party without a pool at Oasis. And
Yes. Yes.
guess who the DJ was?
Is it one of ours?
Derek Carter.
No.
I
Really?
Well, I was like, wow, this music's great. And I looked and it
Wow.
said Derek fucking Carter. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. So
How
it
great
was absolutely amazing.
That's so good. Was that this? Why didn't I know about this one? Was it this past weekend?
Yeah, it was winter party. You know, had the party that they do on the beach, but this was like one of the other parties.
This
on the
was
weekend.
the Oasis. I saw the Wynwood one.
They're usually just all circuit music, and I can't stand circuit music anymore. If you like it, fine, that's your choice. Get me out of the room.
I don't want it all the time. It's
funny because all the queens were complaining around the outside like this, and I'm like, good. Now you know how I feel when I'm at a circuit party.
You were living your best life with your Derek Carter. Yeah. So good.
I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this today.
Oh my God, I love it.
It was
Moral
super
of
fun.
The story is have sex, and if you can't have sex, go sing.
Find a way to connect with people physically, and if you can't physically,
musically,
move to the same people, move to the same beat, move to the same music, and
also exercise, because we're never going to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Exercise absolutely releases. We didn't.
So
really
I mean, if you're not having sex with somebody, and not everybody's always in the mood.
Go to a group fitness class. Everybody's moving to the same beat, to the music, and you're also oxytocin is released by physical activity as well. So the worst thing you can do is sit at home and be depressed and anxious. And don't get me wrong, sometimes that's what you got to do.
And I've done that.
I have been very recently diagnosed, and I wish I went to the psychiatrist earlier, with generalized anxiety disorder, which I'm now on medication for, and I feel so much fucking better. I wish I did
better, don't you?
A long time ago. But the point is, sometimes you just got to lay in bed, and I get that. But as soon as you're able to get yourself out of bed, get yourself into a group of people, even if you don't talk to anybody, move to the same beat, do a group fitness class. Anything that has to do with music and exercise and movement is going to make you feel better.
100%. So they can come to you for one-on-one help, and they can come to me for group fitness power.
Yeah. This is your power team right here.
This is it. We got you. And we have many more podcasts full of content to follow over the months, friends.
Coming back. And next
of course
time,
I am.
do the three of us.
And then we'll do Tres Amigas from Miami to New York.
I fucking love it.
I love it.
Well,
thank you so much for bringing me on. I love talking to you.
You have no idea how much I enjoyed this, and I'm completely over my imposter syndrome right now. I think we did a great job.
You did a great job. You're not an imposter. You can do podcasts.
I know. I'm starting to think it actually might work, and we have 2 people watching, so that's great.
That's amazing. And
if you're watching this, by the way, on the replay, please, thank you first of all, but please leave a comment of anything you would like us to talk about that has to do with fitness, and of course, fitness can mean sex. Or nutrition or anxiety or depression or any of those things that relate to that, because we want to know what you guys want to listen to so that we get more people watching, right?
Totally.
And then just, comment period, because we would love to see what you guys think about the podcast. And, let us know if this time works too. If you're watching this and you're like 7:30 or 7 o'clock doesn't work, the more feedback I get, the more we can modify this so that we can make it useful for everyone.
I love it.
All right.
So good.
Thank you, Siobhan.
So good to talk to you, Russell. I look forward to next time.
I love you very much.
I love you.
That's all of my guests.
Love you guys. Bye. Till next time.